I say, come and join us on this spiffing adventure to explore under the oceans of Laythe, a moon of Jool. Let's find out what's out there.
Hello guys, I'm Aerobraking, your Welsh engineer, and welcome to Kerbal Quest Series 2 Part 3, Laythe Underwater Base. Yes, and this took me ages to build, to balance those ore tanks that are going to sink us under the ocean, to launch this up into space, and to deorbit the bloody thing, and make sure that it doesn't disintegrate when it impacts the ocean. That is one of the reasons why this video took so long to get out. Anyway, what we're doing here, we're launching this into orbit, and it takes an immense amount of stacks of rockets, as you can see, to get us into orbit. And that's not even with the top tanks filled up. No, we're going to be launching this up into orbit, and then we're going to be refueling it. In fact, this takes about 2 refueling missions with a similar launch vehicle. But I have to say that this is one of the engineering channel challenges that I enjoy when I'm doing Kerbal Space Program. However, the amount of time it takes me to do these videos, and the limited time I have to record them, which means that it takes a long time to do one of these videos. And that's why you see people like Matt Lown, and they come up with 1 video a week, which is okay, you know, you guys really enjoy his videos. And I have to say that his Laythe base inspired me to make my underwater Laythe base. However, I have done one of these before. I think it was a ring base. I did an experiment on Kerbin where I set it underwater. And also you probably can see on the side we have 2 vessels on the side of this base, and they are submarines. Also, I think someone in the comments linked the video to me to one of Mark Thrim's videos, and I think it was one a speed build for an underwater flying submarine, I think it was. This one won't be able to fly, however it is equipped to go underwater and act as a submarine for exploration. Anyhow, let's get back to what's happening on screen. At this point I realise that we're not having enough fuel, so let's pump some of that fuel into the outer tanks that we have in the centre tanks. Yeah, I have an extra tank filled up that I was hoping not to use, but apparently I started the orbit burn a bit too late, so that extra thrust to weight ratio was required for this part of the mission. And once they're empty, realise that the periapsis height is still not out of the atmosphere, and we're still falling down, so we have to make sure that gets above 70. So if you get into that problems, you're thrusting a bit too late, point radial, so you're raising your periapsis up until it's out of the atmosphere, and at that point you're in a stable orbit, and as long as you've got that, you can adjust your orbit at any time you want, at your periapsis or apoapsis. Oh yes, and there's me setting up my camera tools for the flyby cinematic pass and leaving it in the video. And why not? To show you guys what we do when we try to record these. And you can see this is the refueler craft. You can see we've got the grabbing arm on top. This is going to be the first of the refueling, and no, we don't take all those boosters into orbit. The problem with taking fuel up into orbit, the more fuel you take up into orbit, the more boosters you have, the more power you need, so the more bigger and fatter your rocket becomes. But yeah, this is what it takes to get a load of fuel into orbit, and it's going to take 2 of these to fuel it. And I'll explain why in a minute. So here we are on the refueling part, and you may notice that there is something odd about our rocket in front of us. It still has 2 of the boosters attached to it. Mark, we call you out on this. What do you mean? It is not something to be called out on. No, what it was that I realised we had forgotten a few things. And I also realised that we did not have enough Delta V for the entire mission. In fact, when I worked it out, we only had, what was it? A little over 200 meters per second if we use that to get to Jool. So yeah, I had to fiddle it around, pump fuel around, just use 2 of the side top engines. In fact, a couple of times I messed up and I didn't pump fuel to one of the engines, so it was flipping out of control. Again, I still have to point radially to get into orbit, and then once it was in orbit I could circularize it. And then back to this, the refueling. And this took a couple of attempts as well, because on the refueling vessel, you probably noticed that there may be... No, was there an extra tank? No, there was an extra tank. I just re-engineered because the batteries weren't on there, and I took a stack separator off it because it wasn't required at this point. And here comes the second one. Oh, we missed it. Skimmed the top of it. We scraped it. There's fuel leaking everywhere. Space has been polluted. All the space birds will have to be cleansed. Lucky there's no space wildlife in KSP. Except for the Kraken. Does the Kraken count as space life form? And do we have to, perhaps that's why the Kraken keeps on attacking the rockets. We keep on polluting it with rocket fumes and other stuff. Like Kerbals floating around through space and time. Yeah, I've still got loads of Kerbals on EVA which I've forgotten about. And yeah, no, they can stay forgotten. Anyway, on the way to Jool. For a 2-year trip towards Jool. And Laythe. Yeah, this is actually going to be a longer mission than I thought at this point, because we have to do several gravity breaks, several slingshots, several slingshots, whatever you call them. A couple of deorbit burns to get to Laythe safely. And this mission was not all hunky-dory and roses and fresh cream, or whatever you have, strawberry and cream, I don't know, I'm making things up by here. Anyway, once you get to a certain distance, you have to mess around with the maneuver note, as I did by here. I'm also using MechJeb's maneuver note manipulator tester outy thingamajiggy, but you do a mid-course correction on the way to Jool so you can get your closest approach to Jool. The best, most efficient way to get to Jool is to get really close to Jool itself, use the Allbirth effect, then get yourself into highly elliptical orbit here. And I love this environmental visual enhancement stock visual enhancement mod. Look at this. Look at the churning of the clouds of Jool by here. You think there is something going on there. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what they do it. Perhaps they have multiple clouds. And now and again, you may see sun shining in the bottom of the planet. I'm not sure if those flashes were meant to be the Aurora Borealis, which is ever present on Jupiter, or our gas giant, or if it was meant to be lightning or something like that. I don't know. But you can see closer up it, you can see, oh, there's another shimmer. That the effect is slightly ruined, I suppose. It doesn't seem like the effect or the resolution improves as you get closer, but I have to say, I still love that, the environmental visual enhancement mods and everything. But anyway, now we have to concentrate because we're doing a flyby of Laythe, the planet where we want to get to, the moon that we want to get to. And what you have to do, make sure when you do the gravity braking, is make sure that you're not going to impact one of the planets. And by here we had another flyby of Laythe. I decided, let's see what we can do. Can we do an aerobraking on Laythe? And you may think that the impact on the bottom of the those discs thingy-majig is the inflatable heat shields. Yeah, no, they didn't cause that, didn't cause the problem. It seems to be some kind of unbalance when we're deorbiting the thing. And you may have just noticed that the scene switched. One moment, Laythe didn't have clouds, the second moment, it did have clouds. And the reason for that is, every time I quick save and quick load, for some reason the clouds of Laythe disappear, so that was me restarting the game and bringing the clouds back for the aesthetics purposes. And here we go, we have a setup of a flyby of Tylo by here, really close. This gives us a good aerobraking. In fact, Tylo is one of the highest gravity moons around Jool. And what you want when you're doing gravity brakings around Jool is to make sure that your orbit gets closer and closer to the moon that you want to get to. That way it's going to take less energy for you to deorbit if you're just going to use a rocket. And I've done a couple of tests with this. This is why this takes so long. I had to make sure that this could deorbit. You can see that we're going lopsided. I couldn't work out what was causing that. I had to manually control this to make sure that it didn't flip out of control. I tried to do a rotation, but that stopped as soon as we hit the atmosphere. But it works. We have to do multiple passes, but that's okay. I thought we were going to have to do 3 passes. Well, that was according to the trajectories mod, initially anyway. But on this part, I'm not sure if it because we were either going at an angle slightly and we're bleeding off more speed than I thought so, or it might be that trajectories mod it has trouble calculating the aerobraking of those discs. What are they called? Inflatable heat shields. Come on, Mark, you can get it correct one day. But the trajectory mod shows that we're going to actually fully deorbit on this berm. Deorbit aerobraking. That's it. Yes, aerobraking. Anyway, this is the part where I hadn't actually worked out where we're going to land, because I knew we were going to do multiple passes. Because if you do a trajectory which went deeper into the atmosphere, the entire thing would flip out of control because you would not be able to control it. Put it that way. And if you're wondering why there's no sound on this, yeah, I was on my Discord server and I had people talking on there. I forgot, well, partially at one point. I thought, oh damn it, I'm recording these guys. I thought, nah, bugger it, it'll be fine. By the way, if you want to join the Discord server, the link is in the description below, if I remember to put it in there. But anyway, coming down, this is the part that I have to be careful with. We've got a system set up on here where things have to happen in sequence. First off, the parachutes have to open. We have to slow ourselves down enough. I'm going to have to manually open some of the parachutes, as you'll probably see in the video, to slow ourselves a bit more. And then as all the parachutes open, we can decouple the heat shields, which, unfortunately, I have to use a cheat for that bit. That's only because some of the heat shields are clip-in, and I couldn't find another way around it. I could have probably added a small heat shield in the center, but if the heat shields weren't covering over each other, the center would burn up, and I'd have problems there. But that aside, what has to happen is that it comes down slowly then, and then as soon as we're 200 meters above the ocean surface, we fire off our SRBs that we have on here, and that'll slow us down just enough, only just, mind you. We're a slither of 0.1 meter per second more or less, no, more. Then we'll smash into the ocean. The thing will disintegrate, we won't sink. I've done multiple tests, trust me. It is really, really finicky. But if we do this in sequence, then everything will be fine. So here we go. Open up the parachutes, increase the altitude height of where some of these parachutes would open up. I do them in multiple stages because I'm worried that if all the parachutes open at the same time, it's going to cause too much stress. I have done multiple tests, but I have not tested the parachutes from a complete drop from orbit. I tested the deorbiting, and that I found was only just worked, but that's from a stable orbit, which we weren't doing this from, so yes, there are a couple of things I did not take into account. And that's one of the reasons why I had to go back and re-engineer this thing a couple of times. Anyway, before we go any further with this commentary, let me say that Kerbal Quest will not be lasting forever. In fact, I think it's almost on its last legs. That we need to change this up. It's taken too long for me to make these videos. I have a proposal, but it's not definite yet, where we do a space plane program or something. Yeah, look at that. You can see the modules being torn apart on the left-hand side. But they're not there any more, and it'll disintegrate. Okay, the parachutes should open up. Yeah. Okay, and you hear me, you see me by here. Okay, into the cheat menu, please. And the reason why we're going into the cheat menu, every time I decouple these, 2 of the SRBs are destroyed. And there's no reason for it other than, for some reason, the parts explode and cause them to shoot into the SRBs, which is not right. There's no explosive in those parts, so they shouldn't be able to do that. So that is the only concession. However, I have to say, this vehicle, including the launch vehicle, is 100% stock. So I don't know if you guys want it for download. I haven't put it at the moment in this description for download because it is really hard. I could include it though. I have to make sure there's no mods because of Kerbal attachment system parts. inside some of the Kerbal cockpits, I think. I'm not sure if that infects it. It might come up, but I'm not sure if it does, because I saved the vessel as adding helmets and stuff. Anyway, here we are, 200 meters up. Will it work? It should do. I've done testing. Okay, what we're now 8.3 meters per second. 8.2, 8.1. You can see the thrust weight ratio. We're not above 1, but this is just enough. 7.9. 7.8. Oh, 7.7, and we hit the ocean at 7.6 meters per second. The SRBs are still going, but that seems to be a little magic number. As long as you don't hit the ocean any faster than 7.6 meters per second, at least with this thing, then you'll be fine. And now here comes the magic, the awesomeness. Decouple the SRBs because they're going to help us be buoyant, and then we're going to sink. Awesome stuff. And the reason that it can sink, if you look at the ore tanks, we got loads on there. This is why this thing is so heavy. We've got a couple of ore tanks clipped into each other, so yes, this thing is extremely heavy. Now, what I could have done was engineer this so that we had, no, not engineer, but use hyper edit so I can increase the amount of ore. That means the launch vehicle wouldn't have to have been so big. However, I decided, no, that doesn't seem right. That's not stock. If you do stock, you have to launch the entire thing full. So yeah, that's why this is hard. And I did notice some damage on here. In fact, I thought I got unscathed. One of the satellite dishes had been removed. But that is okay, because our Kerbals have survived. We have completed this mission, almost. All we have to do now is survive impact on the bottom of the ocean. I think it was 1,400 meters, so almost 1.5 kilometers from the surface. And you may be wondering why on the dark side. Well, it wasn't planned. However, once you get to the bottom of Laythe's oceans, or close to the bottom, then it is absolutely pitch black. Yes, trust me, I've done multiple tests of this to make sure this craft worked. Even Hybrid edited it to Laythe's oceans to make sure that it would sink on Laythe as well as curbing. And it is pitch black. In fact, I think I'll show you in this video. However, talking to my friends because it was tedious, this is what was said.
Oh wait, hang on. Are we being recorded for this?
Oh yeah, you are.
Hello, what is up YouTube land? This is your people here from Observer. Today we have been talking about dead bodies, by the way, which was total roleplay and none of it was true at all, and you should totally ignore it.
That was the Dark Spider from my Discord server. And yeah, you probably guessed it, we were having some weird conversations. In fact, we've got some people from Canada, from England, and yeah, most of Europe as well. So we do have quite a few people in there. And here we are. We're approaching the bottom, 120 meters per second, no, 120 meters. And, oh, 80, we're almost there. This thing takes so long. $40 meters. And there you can see, I'm not sure if you guys could see actually on YouTube. I'm not sure. I tried to increase the brightness of this scene's up, but I'm not sure if it's working. But anyway, I'm going to leave it as it is. And let's get, who is it? Pulsified Kerman, if I can find him. Once I eventually do, he's in one of the arms of the station. There he is. Let's transfer him into one of the subs. And let's give it a go. And anyway, as requested, I was not going to read the comments out. However, I decided I'll read the comments out at the end of the video. So here we have Stranded. This meant to be an ELO mission. Expedition, not a barrel rolling simulator. Have your scientists found these missing samples and we've found out what the contamination was? Yes, in the last mission we sent a mission to Ilu, we'd done a sampling of the chocolate under there, and for some reason the samples disappeared, and there was contaminations on the faces of our Kerbals. We could not work it out. We have Ludicrous Potato. We found all the frosting that Kerbing needs. Yes, we did indeed. McBoogly. Good job on the video. It was amazing. I think that was for the music video I'd done. Let me know if you want me to do a music video of this one as well. I'll give it a go and, see what tracks I can find for it. We have Driver 0218. Hey, Orbiter. This is a real cool video, and I love the idea of a rover which can stand and drive. How long did it take you to make this video like this? In fact, I have to work that out. This video took longer than the last one. It probably takes me about 4 hours. That's recording the video, editing it. Editing takes a bit of while, especially if we're clipping everything. And then you have to voice over it, which sometimes I mess up and I have to I have to record this bit again. So yes, in all 4 hours perhaps. 4 or 5 hours. I'm not sure, I don't take notes. Agraflockvenzer. What? You went to the sacred chocolate river and you didn't even bring a drill to extract on it? Well, at least you planted a flag to mark where to go land next time. But next time we send you up there, HQ is expecting some high quality Elu chocolate. Yes, was it Cadbury's or was it Nestle? Oh yes, and here we go. I haven't put RCS on these subs, but I decided see if we can actually dock them back on it. I should have put a docking port on the front of it and made it a lot sense, wouldn't it? Anyway, from Peter Ferrari. Nice work. Please go to Dres Natural Satellite. An asteroid which appears when you go to Dres. Thank you. I may give that a go. And from Please End Me. Your grandpa Elon Musk wants to colonize Mursk. Rectangle. I just connected 2 spaceships and made my first space station. Huge thanks. I think that's using my tutorials. Awesome work, dude. And Xpergens says, hello Orbiter, nice vid. May I ask you where you'd get those suits and helmets? Well, in fact, I think that, and here we go. This is showing that is really dark under the Oceans of Eve. Yeah, that is part of the Kerbal Attachment System and Kerbal Inventory System and Props mod as well. Have a look for that. It's all on CCAN. So guys, do you want me to do a music video? Let me know in the description below. In the comments below, not description. And here we go. What? We have an end card? We do. Anyway, I'm Orbiter. Trust me, I'm an engineer. Click on another video. Quick, go on, you know you want to.